Injury report, you guys probably already heard. Everyone will practice today in some capacity, and we'll see what the next couple of days, where the next couple of days lead us here. So.
Hey, Sean, with this Jet offense, the numbers obviously don't look great, but what do you see on tape that concerns you?
I mean, you could start with two players. I mean, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. I mean, two superstars in their own right, and I think they're explosive and two players that you have to be very aware of.
What have you seen from your team this week around Joe, especially getting a full normal practice in yesterday?
Yeah, I think they're in their stride. I'll say, like I thought yesterday's practice was on point, and it looked like they were having some fun at the same time and getting a little bit of that confidence back as well.
How much wanting to see the energy and the coordinator positions, a leadership position? What have you seen from Joe in that aspect and kind of being vocal and kind of taking control in that leadership way?
Yeah, I mean he's done a real nice job, Elena. I mean from the time that we spoke, Joe and I after, with everything that went down on Tuesday morning there, and he's picked up the ball and ran with it, and not just with the staff, but also with the players. And I try and check in with him nightly and say, hey, what do you need? And he's usually in a good spot, and just really thinking about the next task that he has in front of him.
Has he slept at all?
Good question. Not much, I don't think. Better question for him, but based on when his car's here and whatnot, he's not normally a last in, first out guy. He's usually a first in, last out type guy, and that hasn't changed this week either.
When you mentioned the team's having fun at practice yesterday, is that underrated at this point of the year?
I think so. I mean, people I think would hear that and say, okay, you're professionals, do your job and get the result we're looking for. And I think as I mentioned earlier, with the overall energy, right? And it's not just physical energy; it's mental energy, it's vibe, it's flow. I think all that leads to getting the result that you're looking for. So that's a critical piece of anything that you try and do is that vibe and that I think just call it the intangibles of the process.
How important is it to see that from Josh specifically?
Huge. Yeah, huge. He's the leader of our football team, let alone in this case the offense, and so I think just getting him back to having that look in his eye and having some fun out there, and the guy that we have watched over the years here, but also back at Wyoming, right? To just going out there and having that joy when he's playing.
Can you put your finger on maybe why that's dissipated a little bit in these past weeks or so?
I have my own thoughts, but I won't go there right now. But just overall, I think again, just where we're trying to go offensively, where we're trying to go as a team, that's really what I'm focused on, is that vision of, hey, what do we need to do, and what needs to be back, right? And so those traits, I guess you would say, are important.
Specifically to Josh, is there anything you've seen how he's responded this week? Has he done anything from a leadership perspective, or just anything you've seen him kind of respond? Obviously, this is a big shift for him, so anything you've seen from him in particular?
No, I mean just I would just say focusing in on doing his job and doing his job better. I think that's really where leadership starts, is making sure that you are doing your own job for all of us, and so I've been pleased with his focus on his job.
During weeks like this when there is some adversity, where does Terry Pagula fall between asking tough questions about what's going on but also providing encouragement and support?
Yeah, Terry's been great. I've said this before. He's the best owner in the NFL, I mean that started day one that I've been in the job all the way up to this week and through this week. So he's been phenomenal, supportive, yet at the same time having good conversations around the what's and the whys, and whether it's positive or negative, and but supportive all the way through it. And so we have a good, strong relationship, and I think it's a good deal with Brandon and myself and Terry.
Does he give a good pep talk when you need it?
Yeah, I mean, Terry he's been successful for a reason in his career, right? In terms of his businesses that he's built over the years, and he has a tremendous amount of experience, albeit not necessarily in football, but in leading organizations and companies, leading his family, and so those conversations that we have, are very important and valuable for me as a leader of this organization, and I value those because of the amount of wisdom he's able to share just through those conversations.
How are you feeling about how Micah and Christian are kind of trending this week after getting the full week of practice?
Yeah, very appreciative of those guys wanting to get back and, getting them back healthy. I know Christian was a little bit banged up last season and then this season as well, and so getting him back out there potentially as an option this weekend. I mentioned on the radio there that don't know if he'll be available as a starter, but potentially in a backup role if he can get through there. And Micah, we'll just see where it goes here. So having both back would certainly be nice to have as options at least.
Go ahead.
You've talked a few times about how leaving Philadelphia ended up setting you on a trajectory, and have you talked to Joe Brady much about him leaving Carolina, how that has evolved him, what he's learned since from that?
Yeah, we've definitely shared some of those conversations, and I think there's two things when you go through what Joe went through in Carolina, what I went through in Philadelphia. You can take one of two paths. You can say, woe is me, and it was about everybody else but me, and that was the reason. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to take out what I know to be the truth and learn from it, and then you use that as a catalyst to make you better, and maybe while doing it, proving some other people wrong a little bit as well. And so I think that chip on the shoulder that comes from that from time to time is healthy if used in the right way. And I think I'm already seeing some of that. That's what Joe, and we haven't had a follow-up conversation about it over the last 3 days with what's going on here. But I bet you that Joe is using some of those valuable lessons that he learned from his time in Carolina, even in the first 3 days of this new opportunity.
It's been a minute since we've asked, but updates on Daquan Jones and Matt Milano and their potential returning this year.
Yeah, I don't have any of that for you right now. Obviously, they're both here, and what I know a little bit of is Daquan has an outside chance, but I don't have anything more specific on that. I don't think Matt has a chance at this point based on what I know.
One more on Joe Brady. I talked to Kep from William and Mary about him, so he says hello. But he was saying how he thinks you guys are kind of similar in some ways, but also a good contrast in other ways. Have you felt that working with Joe so far?
Yeah. Who said that? Kep? Coach Kep? Yeah. Blast from the past. What a good man and coach. When I didn't know Joe, even before bringing him here, even though we went to the same school, but I had heard about Joe, and the minute that I hired Joe, I got a couple of texts from people down there saying, hey, reminds me of you. He'll be one of the ones staying up late working with you. His car will be there just like yours is. Your lights will be on, his lights will be on. And so all the kind of intangibles that I had heard about Joe from people down there were very positive and mentioned some of the parallels maybe in terms of the intangibles.
Sean, whether it's after tough losses or different circumstances, it seems like Mitch Morse is always ready to step up to the plate and be a voice for this team. What type of leader is he, and why are players like him important in the next stretch of the season here?
Yeah, I mean, Mitch is very steady. His personality really is a strength in terms of his consistent day-to-day approach, his consistent day-to-day routine. I think the guys, and particularly the offensive line, really appreciate that and draw benefits from that.
Just to check on this one too, this would be the 4-week window for Damian Harris. Is he someone who has any chance of kind of at all?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you more. I don't think right now that he's ready to entertain any of that. So we'll see where it goes the rest of the season at this point.
And then I was just curious, with Micah dealing with a neck injury, obviously all of last year, is it a little more sensitive, or like kind of bringing someone like him back just because of all he went with last year? Like, is there a little more care? Maybe obviously all injuries are given care and all of that, but like with what he went through last year.
Anytime you hurt a body part, in particular your neck, for sure, and those conversations have gone on, and Mike is so he's just got a great head on his shoulders, as you guys know. I've said this before. He could go down to the local bank and lead the local bank. I mean, that's the type of guy, and then he's a leader on our team. So he's got a great head on his shoulders, and when going through a situation like this, because it is so sensitive, he's done his research. His communication with Nate has also happened to the level that I think he's comfortable with, and then his communication with me is that's one of the very first questions I asked is, could he hurt it worse? And because that to me is keeping priorities in proper order here. So at this point, we feel comfortable enough that, or Micah does, and as well as then subsequently Nate and I, that we'll see where today and tomorrow go. But after that, let it fly.
Leonard Fournette, how close is he to being where you think he needs to be able to get called up and be part of the offense?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a nice addition, Lenny has, and I didn't know him before, personally, I didn't know him before he arrived here, and, I've been very appreciative of his impact on our team, even from the spot that he currently holds there, and but he continues to learn the offense, and so I think if not this week, then in the weeks ahead, it's certainly going to be a big-time consideration for us.
Coach, Ed has had such a great season, and guys will often credit him for just the impact he has on every play. What growth have you seen as he's kind of becoming a leader on this team? What growth have you seen from him?
Oh, man, I mean, he was in the sauna this morning, bright and early, and I'm not going to pretend to know everything about his routine when he first got here in the first couple of years, but typically for a younger player in year one or year two, you're not one of the first players in the building, and until you learn really what it takes in this league to be good. And so, like I said before, his process has improved so much. His day-to-day, I think, focus as well, and then I think the level of trust now that he has in those around him, I think is also showing in his play, right? In terms of, hey, I can trust what you're telling me, whether it's one of his teammates, veteran teammates, or coaches, that, and that I think has been reflected in his play this season.
Good.